The wind howled across the dead plains of the planet Narration, once filled with crystal forests and silver rivers. Now only dust and silence remained. The sky was gray, and the air tasted of metal and sorrow. Vera walked slowly, her thin frame wrapped in an old cloak. She held the hands of her two daughters close to her chest, their small faces pale and hungry for 3 days. They had eaten nothing but dry roots and melted snow. The war had taken everything, their crops, their homes, their family. The Empire had left them behind after losing the last battle. No one came to help the poor. No one cared about the survivors. Vera looked at her children and felt her heart twist with pain. She could not let them die, not like this. At the edge of the old city, a light flickered from an underground market. The smell of rust and blood filled the air. Voices whispered in the shadows. Deals were made. Lives were traded. And hope was always for sale. Vera stepped inside the dark hall, her eyes adjusting to the dim glow of neon signs. Organ trader, biomods, synthetic parts. Anything for credits, a mechanical voice said from a corner. The trader was half machine. His glowing eyes scanned her weak body. What do you need? He asked. Vera swallowed, her voice shaking. Food, she said softly. Medicine for my daughters. The trader looked at the children standing behind her, then at her trembling hands. And what do you have to trade? He asked coldly. She hesitated, looking down at her chest. She could hear her heartbeat echoing faintly in her ears. I have my heart, she whispered. The trader froze for a moment, then leaned forward, his voice low and curious. You would sell your own heart? Tears filled her eyes. If it means they live, she said. Then yes. The trader typed something into his device. The screen glowed with numbers. There is a buyer, he said finally. A human, name unknown. He pays well for rare alien organs if you agree. You will get enough credits to feed them for years. Vera looked back at her daughters, one holding the other's hand, both staring at her with frightened eyes. Her voice trembled. Will I die? The trader smiled. Not immediately, he said. We will replace it with a mechanical core. It will keep you alive. But it won't last forever. Vera nodded slowly. Her hand shaking, she whispered, Do it. The trader motioned to the back room. The air smelled of oil and antiseptic. Metal tables glistened under flickering lights. Vera lay down, her cloak pulled aside. She tried to breathe slowly. She thought of her daughters, their laughter before the war, their small hands holding wildflowers in the sun. As the machine arms descended, she whispered, Please, make sure they get the food. The trader did not answer. The sound of cutting and whirring filled the room. Her vision blurred. Pain spread through her chest. She could feel her heart being taken away. Every beat slower than the last. She heard her daughters crying outside the door. Mama, please don't go, they cried. Her lips moved silently. Be strong, she mouthed. I love you. Then, the sound of her heartbeat faded, replaced by a faint metallic pulse. The machine core glowed dimly beneath her skin. The trader sealed the wound and placed a small credit chip in her trembling hand. She opened her eyes weakly, her skin pale, her chest heavy and cold. But she smiled when she saw her children rush toward her. Hugging her tightly, she whispered, We can eat now. Her voice soft and hollow, in another room far from her eyes. The real heart was placed in a containment pod, still beating faintly inside blue stasis gel. The human buyer stood in the shadows, tall and silent, his eyes fixed on the heart. He looked at the screen that displayed her name. Vera, female, mother of 2, age 29. She sold it to save them, the trader said, laughing slightly. How dramatic these aliens can be. But the human did not laugh. His gloved hands tightened into fists. He stared at the heart floating in the gel, the rhythm soft and fragile. He whispered under his breath. She didn't deserve this, the trader shrugged. Business is business, Captain. The human turned, his face hidden under his hood. No, he said quietly. This isn't business. He looked one last time at the heart, glowing faintly in the darkness, and walked out of the room, his boots echoing against the metal floor. Outside the storm raged, lightning split the sky. Vera walked through the snow with her children, clutching the credit chip, her steps weak but determined, her chest made of metal, her soul still full of warmth. The snowflakes melted on her cheeks, mixing with her tears. Far above, a human ship lifted from the clouds, carrying her heart into the stars. And somewhere deep inside that mechanical chest, the faint echo of her real heartbeat seemed to whisper, a promise yet unfinished. The human ship drifted through the endless dark, its silver hull reflecting distant stars inside the quiet chambers of the vessel Aegis Dawn. Captain Elias Ron sat alone, the faint hum of engines filling the silence. Before him floated the containment pod, and inside it, Vera's heart still beat softly within the blue stasis gel. Elias stared at it for a long time, unable to look away. It was beautiful in a sad, fragile way. The faint rhythm echoed in his ears, a reminder that somewhere far below, a mother lived without it. He clenched his jaw, feeling a heavy ache in his chest. He wasn't supposed to feel this way. Humans had won the war. They were the victors, the heroes of the galaxy. But Elias had seen what victory looked like: burning worlds, starving children, and silence where laughter once lived. He leaned back and whispered to himself, "What have we done?" A soft beep came from the ship's console. His officer's voice broke through. "Captain Rane, the Galactic Trade Council just confirmed the transfer. The organ is officially yours." Elias looked at the pod again, his reflection shining in the glass. "It's not mine," he said quietly. "It never was." He stood and walked toward the observation window. Stars stretched endlessly before him, so bright yet so cold. The galaxy had moved on after the war, but scars like these never healed. The memory of the alien mother, of her trembling eyes, haunted him. He had seen her file. Vira, a mother of 2 daughters, sold her heart for a few credits, her planet left in ruins. There was no mention of her name in the official records, only a number, just another victim of survival. Elias's ship AI spoke softly. "Captain, would you like to begin the delivery to the Bio-Research Division?" He hesitated, his hand hovering over the control panel. "Cancel that order," he said, his voice firm. The AI's light blinked. "Captain, that is an unauthorized action." "Then mark it as a field deviation," Elias replied. "I'm taking it back, taking it back." The AI repeated, "To whom?" Elias turned to the stasis pod, the faint pulse inside it glowing brighter. "To the one who sold it," he said. "To the one who needs it more than any lab." For a moment, the AI stayed silent, then it asked quietly, "You know this violates human command orders." "Captain?" Elias smiled faintly, a tired, broken smile. "Some orders deserve to be broken." He walked toward the pilot's chair, his fingers running over the control switches. The engines roared to life. He entered the destination, the ruined planet of Narration, restricted and forgotten. The navigation display flashed red warnings. Unauthorized zone, high radiation, alien territory. He didn't care. His mind was set. As the ship turned, Elias took one last look at the stasis pod. The heart glowed brighter for a moment. Like it was alive and listening, he whispered softly, "Hang on, I'm bringing you home." The stars blurred into streaks as the ship entered warp space. Time lost its meaning. Elias sat back in silence, memories flooding his thoughts. He remembered the days before the war, when humans were explorers, not conquerors, when compassion meant something, when saving a life mattered more than owning it. He opened a small data file on his screen. A picture of his sister appeared, smiling, holding her little child, both lost in a colony strike years ago. His eyes softened. "Maybe that's why I can't ignore this," he whispered. No mother should die for her children to live. Hours passed, and the ship emerged from warp near Narration. The planet looked like a dying ember, half covered in storm clouds, half scorched desert. Radiation levels flickered dangerously on the sensors. "Captain," the AI warned, "approaching this world violates the peace treaty." "Peace," Elias said bitterly. "There's no peace if people still starve." He guided the ship lower through the atmosphere, lightning flashing across the sky, dust storms roaring below. He could see what was left of the cities, shattered towers and glowing craters. Once homes, now graves. The scanners pinged faint life signatures, weak, but real. A small village hidden among the ruins. "Found you," Elias whispered, setting course toward it. But before he could descend, alarms blared through the ship. Red lights flashed. "Warning, unidentified vessels detected," the AI said. On the radar, several small ships appeared. Alien raiders, their weapons locked on him. A harsh voice came through the comms. "Human ship, you are trespassing on sacred ground. Power down or be destroyed." Elias opened the channel calmly. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "I just want to return something that belongs to one of you." There was a pause, then laughter echoed through the speaker. "Humans don't return things, they steal and kill." "Prepare to be vaporized." Laser fire streaked past the hull. Shaking the ship, Elias gritted his teeth and dodged. refusing to fire back. AI shields only, he ordered. Captain, without counterfire we won't survive, the AI warned. I said shields only, Elias repeated, his voice sharp. I'm not killing anyone. The ship rocked as another blast hit the wing. Sparks flew from the control panel, but Elias held steady, guiding the Aegis Dawn through the storm clouds, the stasis pod still pulsing behind him. Each heartbeat echoing louder, he whispered, just a little longer. I'll get you there. Outside, lightning split the sky as the ship dived through the atmosphere, smoke trailing behind it, alarms screaming. But Elias didn't stop because in that moment, for the first time since the war ended, he finally felt human again. The night on Narration was colder than usual. The stars were faint behind the thick clouds of dust. Inside a small cracked shelter built from old ship metal, Vera lay weak on a narrow bed, her skin pale and her breathing slow. The dull metal hum from her artificial heart echoed softly in the quiet. Each beat sounded like a machine struggling to live. Her two daughters sat close beside her. Trying to stay warm, the older one, Lyra, held her mother's hand tightly, while the younger, Miri, pressed against her shoulder. Vera smiled faintly at them, trying to look strong. Her voice soft and shaking. Don't worry, my loves. I'll be fine, but both girls knew it was a lie. Each day her glow faded a little more. The mechanical heart was failing. It couldn't keep up with her alien body anymore. The black market device wasn't built for compassion, only survival. Lyra brushed her mother's hair aside, her small voice trembling. Mama, when will the real heart grow back? Vera's eyes softened. She smiled weakly. Hearts don't grow back, my dear, she said, but sometimes they find their way home. Miri blinked, confused. What does that mean? Vera looked at the ceiling where water dripped slowly from cracks. She whispered, it means that one day kindness might find us again. The night stretched on. The wind howled outside. Vera could feel her pulse slowing. Her mechanical chest ached. Sparks of pain shot through her body. She tried to hide it from her daughters, forcing a smile, but the color in her face faded with every breath. In the corner of the room, a small heater flickered weakly, running on the last bit of energy. The rations were nearly gone. They had one piece of bread left. Lyra broke it in half and gave the bigger piece to her mother. Eat, Mama, she said. You need it more than us. Vira pushed it back gently. No, Lyra, you and your sister need to grow. I've already grown enough, she said softly. The older girl frowned, her eyes filling with tears. I don't want to grow if you're not here. For a long moment, silence filled the room, the soft hum of the heart echoing like a countdown. Vera closed her eyes and whispered a small prayer to the stars, even though she wasn't sure they listened anymore. In her dream, she saw her world before the war, the rivers that glowed like glass, the trees that sang in the wind. She saw her husband's face lost to the bombings years ago, and she saw her daughters running through fields of silver flowers. She smiled through the pain, her lips moving silently. Just a little longer. Then a sudden sound broke the quiet, a distant boom, followed by a bright flash through the cracks of the shelter. Lyra gasped and ran to the window, her eyes wide. Mama! Look, lights in the sky! Vera tried to lift her head, her voice weak. What kind of lights? Lyra stared up at the horizon where a burning trail cut through the clouds. A ship descending fast, glowing blue and silver, she whispered. It's a human ship. The words filled the room like a shock. Miri hid behind her sister, trembling. Humans are dangerous, she said, her small voice scared. They destroyed everything. Vera tried to speak but coughed instead, her chest flashing dimly with each breath. No, she whispered, not all of them. Maybe this one. Maybe different. Outside, other villagers began shouting. The sound of footsteps echoed through the broken streets. People grabbed makeshift weapons, their eyes burning with fear and anger, the memory of war still raw in their hearts. But Lyra didn't move. She stared at the sky as the human ship grew closer. Mama, maybe he's coming to help, she said, her voice full of hope. Vera's vision blurred, the edges of the room fading to white. She smiled faintly. Hope. It's a strong thing, my little one, she whispered. Hold on to it. Her hand fell limp for a second and Miri screamed, Mama, wake up! Tears streamed down her face as she shook her mother's arm. Vera opened her eyes slowly, gasping for air. Her metal heart sputtered like a dying engine, each beat slower than the last. It's okay, she said faintly. Don't cry. I just need to rest. Lyra's hands trembled as she stood, her small fists clenched. I'll find help, she said suddenly, her voice steady now. I'll find the human. Miri grabbed her arm. No, it's dangerous. But Lyra pulled away, her eyes fierce with determination. I don't care, she said. If he can help Mama, I'll go. She ran out into the storm, the wind cutting against her face, her small feet sinking into ash and snow. She followed the trail of fire in the sky, the burning line that led toward the mountains, where the human ship had crashed. Back in the shelter, Vera whispered weakly, her eyes half closed. Be careful. My brave one, she murmured. The stars will guide you. The storm raged louder outside, thunder shaking the ground, and above it all, a human ship descended through the clouds, flames licking its hull. Inside that ship, Captain Elias Rani gritted his teeth, his ship alarm screaming, smoke filling the cabin, but he refused to turn away. Through the chaos, he whispered, just a little further. Below, a little alien girl ran toward the light, her heart filled with hope. And somewhere between them, fate began to stir, 2 paths, 1 purpose, 1 heart still beating for both. The storm howled over the broken plains as the human ship crashed through the clouds, fire trailing from its wings, the thunder mixed with the sound of metal scraping against rock. Finally, the Aegis Dawn came to rest on the cold ground. Half buried in ash and smoke, the sky above glowed red from the burning debris. Inside the cockpit, Captain Elias Rani coughed, waving away the smoke, his vision blurry but his determination unshaken. Alarms screamed in every corner, but he didn't care. He reached for the stasis pod, still glowing faintly blue, the heart inside pulsing softly as if alive. We made it, he whispered. Just hold on. Outside, the air shimmered with energy, strange alien lightning flashing across the ruined land. The storm had drawn attention from the distant hills. Shadows began to move. Villagers armed with makeshift weapons, their eyes filled with fear and hatred at the same time. A small figure ran through the dust toward the crash site. It was Lyra, her thin cloak whipping in the wind, her eyes wide as she saw the giant ship burning against the rocks. She stumbled but kept running, her heart pounding. Please, she whispered. Please be someone who can help Mama. Elias opened the hatch. Stepping out slowly, the cold wind hit his face, ash sticking to his uniform. He raised his hands to show he had no weapons. His eyes scanned the horizon. Then he saw her. A small alien girl, trembling but unafraid. He took a cautious step forward. Hey, he said softly, his voice calm. It's all right. I'm not here to hurt anyone. Lyra froze. Her eyes wide, she remembered her mother's words. Not all humans are bad, she whispered, then looked at the glowing pod he carried, the blue light reflecting on her face. What is that? She asked, her voice shaking. Elias knelt and opened the pod carefully, the faint beating heart floating inside, still glowing with life. This, he said quietly, belongs to someone very brave, Lyra gasped, her small hands covering her mouth. That's Mama's heart, she whispered. Tears filling her eyes, Elias nodded slowly, his voice soft. Yes, and I've come to return it. Before she could answer, loud shouts echoed through the storm. A group of alien villagers appeared, armed with spears and plasma rifles. Their leader, an old warrior named Sethar, pointed his weapon at Elias. Human, he shouted. You dare come here after what your kind did? Elias stayed still, his hands raised. I'm not here for war, he said firmly. I came to give back what was stolen. Sethar spat on the ground. Lies. Humans only take. Lyra ran forward, standing between them, her voice trembling but brave. No, he's telling the truth. He has Mama's heart. He came to help her. The crowd murmured in shock, some lowering their weapons slightly. Sethar's eyes narrowed as he looked at the stasis pod, the glowing organ floating inside. Why? He asked coldly. Why would a human return life to an enemy? Elias took a step forward, his voice steady. Because she didn't sell her heart for greed or gain, he said. She did it to save her children. No law, no species. No war should make that right. The words hung in the air. Carried by the wind, the villagers looked at one another, their anger slowly turning to confusion. To doubt, Sethar lowered his weapon slightly, his voice softer now. You risked your life to come here for this? Elias nodded. For this, he said simply. Because sometimes doing what's right means breaking every rule. Lyra ran to him, her small hands clutching his sleeve. Please come with me, she said. Mama doesn't have much time. Without hesitation, Elias followed her through the storm, the villagers watching silently as the strange pair disappeared into the ruins. They reached the small shelter where Vera lay, her breathing shallow, her skin pale as frost, the faint metallic hum of the broken heart weak and uneven, Miri sat by her side, tears streaking her cheeks. When she saw the human enter, she froze in fear. Elias knelt beside the bed, his voice gentle. "It's all right, little one," he said. "I'm here to help." He placed the pod beside Vera, the light glowing brighter, filling the dark room with warmth. The heart inside began to pulse faster, as if recognizing its owner. Vera's eyes fluttered open, confusion in her gaze. She whispered weakly, You're human." Elias smiled faintly. "Yes," he said, "but I'm not your enemy." He carefully opened a small case of medical tools, connecting wires between her chest and the stasis pod. "I'm returning what's yours," he whispered. As he worked, the machine inside her body began to hum louder. The two heartbeats, the metal and the organic, started to sync, slow at first, then steady. The light in the room brightened until even the walls seemed to glow. Lyra and Miri held each other tightly, watching with wide eyes as their mother's color slowly returned. Her breathing steadier, her fingers twitching. Elias smiled through tears he didn't expect, whispering, "That's it. Come back." Outside, the storm began to fade. The thunder softened into rain. The villagers gathered silently near the shelter, listening to the strange, rhythmic sound coming from inside. Two heartbeats, human and alien, merging as one. When the door opened, Lyra stepped out, her face shining with joy. "She's alive," she cried, her voice breaking through the quiet night. The villagers lowered their weapons completely. Even Sethar bowed his head, whispering, "Maybe." Not all humans are monsters. Inside, Elias sat beside Vera, watching her breathe peacefully. For the first time in years, the galaxy seemed a little less broken, and as he looked at her sleeping form, he whispered softly, "You gave your heart for love, and now it beats again because of it." The first light of dawn touched the horizon, painting the ruins of Narration with shades of silver and gold. The storm had passed. The air was quiet now, filled only with the soft hum of rain dripping from broken metal roofs. Inside the small shelter, Vera slowly opened her eyes, her vision blurry but bright. Her chest rose with a deep breath that didn't hurt anymore. For a moment, she didn't understand what had happened. She felt warmth where there used to be cold metal. The rhythmic thump inside her chest was steady and alive. She touched the spot gently and tears filled her eyes. It's real," she whispered, her voice trembling. Her daughters clung to her, crying and laughing at the same time. "Mama, you're alive," Lyra shouted, her little hands gripping her mother's arms. Miri pressed her cheek against her chest, listening to the heartbeat. "It's warm again," she whispered softly. Elias stood nearby, watching silently, exhaustion in his eyes but relief in his smile. Vera looked up at him, confusion and emotion mixing together. You returned it," she said weakly. He nodded. "It was never mine to keep," he said. "You gave it out of love. And love deserves to come back home," she tried to speak, but her voice broke with emotion. "Why would you risk your life for me?" "I'm not human," Elias smiled faintly. "Because being human isn't about species," he said quietly. "It's about compassion, about doing what's right when no one else will." Outside, villagers gathered around the shelter, whispering among themselves. For generations they had feared humans, cursed their name, but now they watched one kneel beside a mother he had saved, and something began to change in their hearts. Sethar, the old warrior, stepped forward and bowed slightly, his deep voice steady. "Human, you have done what none of our own dared," he said. "You brought life where death had already claimed victory." Elias lowered his head respectfully. "I only gave back what she never should have lost," the crowd murmured softly, and for the first time since the war, there was no anger in their eyes, only gratitude. Some even smiled faintly, a fragile peace forming like the first flower growing through ashes. Later that evening, as the twin suns set behind the mountains, Vera sat outside with her daughters, the air calm and filled with golden light. Elias stood beside her, looking at the horizon. The faint hum of his communicator buzzed in his pocket. He sighed and tapped it. A cold voice spoke. "Captain Rane, you have violated direct orders. You are under arrest for unauthorized contact with alien species and illegal medical transfer." Vera's eyes widened. "They're going to punish you?" Elias nodded slightly. "I knew this would happen," he said calmly. "But I don't regret it." Lyra ran to him, grabbing his hand tightly. "Please don't go," she said, her voice small but desperate. Elias knelt and smiled gently. "Hey, you'll be fine now," he said. "Your mother's strong, she'll take care of you, and you'll take care of her." Mary's eyes filled with tears. But who will take care of you? He looked toward the sky where faint lights appeared. Human patrol ships descending through the clouds. Don't worry, he said softly. As long as you're alive. I'll be fine. The patrol landed. Armored soldiers stepped out, weapons lowered but faces stern. One of them saluted sharply. Captain Rane, by order of High Command, you are to come with us. Elias nodded and turned to Vera. Promise me one thing, he said. Don't hide from the stars anymore. Your people deserve to live without fear. Vera stood slowly, still weak but steady. She looked at him with tears shining in her eyes. And you, don't stop being the kind of human the galaxy needs, she said, as he was led toward the ship. Vera called out softly. Elias? He turned and she placed her hand over her heart, the one he had returned. You didn't just give me back my life, she said, her voice trembling. You gave my daughters their future. He smiled. A quiet, tired smile. That's all I ever wanted, he said. The patrol ship lifted off, engines roaring against the quiet evening. Lyra and Miri waved until it vanished into the clouds. Vera stood watching until the last light disappeared, her heart beating strong beneath her skin. Weeks later, the humans announced Captain Elias Rane's imprisonment for breaking interspecies law, but word of what he did spread across both sides of the galaxy, whispered in colonies and among alien tribes, the story of a human who broke the rules to return a stolen heart. And on Narration, beneath a rebuilt sky, Vera often looked up at the stars, placing her hand over her chest. Each beat a reminder, each pulse a promise. Mama, Lyra asked one night, do you think we'll see him again? Vera smiled softly. He's out there somewhere, she said. And as long as hearts keep beating, we're never truly apart. Above them among the stars, the Aegis Dawn drifted silently in orbit, a beacon light flashing faintly in the darkness, like a heartbeat that refused to fade. And so in a galaxy built on war and loss, one act of kindness had changed everything. Because sometimes, even across species, across stars, across hatred and fear, a heart always finds its way home.